Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz, guys. Welcome to episode 154 of the Untapped Podcast. If this is your first time joining us, first of all, thank you. We are thrilled to have you here with us. We actually have 5 main formats of our show. So first, we have Forging Fortitude episodes. Now, in these episodes, we the mental side of our brand. In these ones, we go over our anecdotal experiences with things like mindset and mentality. We then pass on tips and advice to you guys to then apply to your own lives. Next, we have physical vitality episodes. Now, in these ones, we cover the physical side of our brand. So we really get to showcase our expertise because you have 2 certified personal trainers in the room. In these ones, we cover everything to do with our fully custom Untapped training app, everything we offer, and what we can do for you guys to help you get results. So if you have any questions about what we offer, again, through our fully custom Untapped app, reach out to us. We cover everything to do with the gym, nutrition, workouts, mental toughness programs like 75 Hard. We cover supplements, and then sometimes we will take trending articles or topics within the fitness industry and give our thoughts and opinions on those. Guys, these physical vitality episodes are full, and I cannot stress that enough, full of free game that you are not going to find most places. So make sure you pay attention.
Nice work, brother. All right, on to our third format, guys. That's our breaking news format, which is what we have for you today. It is a current event-based format. We sit down and touch on current events, current articles, just things going on in today's world. Now, keep in mind, as most of you know, we could do 3 to 4 episodes like this a week. But that is not our entire personality on this episode. As much as we do enjoy these episodes, I will say that as well. We are looking to bring solutions to the current day problems. Now, on to our fourth format. That is our Knights Table format. It is a masculinity-based format. We touch on things like toxic masculinity, if it's real, what it really is, fatherhood, the impact it's had on our lives, and then male-based topics in general, and how important men are to the future of this country and the world, for that matter, as well. Now, keep in mind, I'm 26. Wurtz is 26. My brother Mitch, our producer, is 24. Because of that, we are not coming to you from some all put together place or the top of the mountain as a man. We will actually never be at that point. The only perfect man to ever walk the planet is Jesus Christ. Now, on to our fifth format. That is our guest format. We sit down with entrepreneurs, like seven-figure entrepreneurs, like episode 152 with John Fogarty. We sat down with doctors like Dr. Wyatt Moorman. We sit down with professional athletes like Jeff Lavecchio and Matt Adams. And we also sit down with anybody that brings you a great story or anything like that, like Connor and JT, for a good example of some guests there, as well as Will Bates as well.
There, yes.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind with those, we are going to learn a ton from those. So naturally, you learn a lot from these episodes as well. They're freaking awesome episodes with the guests. We have plenty more coming your way. We knocked out a lot of them in a row, obviously, as a lot of you know, but go back and check those out if you haven't. Now, on to our final thing to introduce is our producer and my brother, Mitchell Gabel.
Hello, fellas.
What's going on, dude?
Hey, truly blessed with the amount of wonderful guests we've really had on this
Absolutely.
podcast. It really is impressive. You were listing out a couple of names there. There's too many to count. There's some pretty impressive people.
Yeah. No, I was actually going to say something along those lines, too. It's like... Excuse me. Wow. You named off some of our great ones, and we have had so many too. I mean, other ones that you didn't mention. It's just like blessed is a great word for it. We've had some awesome experiences, some awesome conversations. I can't talk. Truly blessed. Very, very cool things that we've gotten to do, and very cool things that we are getting to do.
You know, a forgotten part about having a lot of great guests on too, that's really nice, is I don't think you or I have gotten a question, be like, bro, can I come on the podcast? From somebody in a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's really refreshing.
Yes.
Because it's like, you better come with some value if you're coming on the podcast at this point in time. That does not mean we're being, what do you call it?
Like pretentious?
Pretentious. Yeah. We're not being pretentious about it. But this is a real podcast.
Yeah.
We don't just do 150 plus episodes for the fun of it.
Right.
Not all of it's been fun. I'm going to tell you that
Sure.
right now. A lot of this has been fun.
Yeah.
But we are bringing value.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice to have that little roster and be like, bro, you got to bring some value if you're going to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We should got a suggestion today that was,
I was just about to say,
little
like,
interesting there.
It's gone from, bro, can I be on your podcast, to, hey, I think this person would be a great fit for your podcast, and here's why. So it's very, very cool. And yeah, it's not about being a professional athlete or a state senator or a 7-figure business owner. It's not about those things. It's about what value can you bring to not only us three, but everyone that's listening and or watching. That's what it's about. So
that's probably why you've had people reach out and say this would be a good person to come on, because folks are wanting to hear that conversation.
Yeah.
Because they know maybe it's a good one. Maybe it's going to take some turns that people are going to learn from.
Sure.
Seems like that's the standard here.
Absolutely. And when you suggest someone, there's a chance that you've had an experience with that person and it had a profound effect on you. And it's like, I also want to hear what those guys can come up with for questions or topics to hear the guests, answers or ideas. And this person has brought me value. So I know that all the people listening and or watching would also find some value. So
point of the matter is we're not stopping.
Not to be sappy.
Sure.
Yeah, not to be sappy about it. I think it's just a good call to say we're extremely grateful for the people we've had on. We're going to continue to be grateful for
and the only way that things like that happen is by the sharing of the show, the support of the show, the love of the show. So we always stress it, but it actually does work, guys. It does. It's free. We don't ask you to buy anything. We don't ask you to pay for any subscriptions, nothing like that. The only thing we ever bring up that is financially involved with us is our training. And if you have any questions about our training, please reach out. We are more than willing and more than able to help you get results in whatever way that might be for you. But this is episode 154. Pretty sweet. And we finally have a breaking news episode. It's been a little while.
It's been a little while.
Done a specific breaking news.
Like very specific one today for that matter.
For sure. And as you guys can see from the title, it is America's Identity Crisis. Gabel, are we under a crisis? Are we in a crisis? Does the country have crises going on right now? I don't know.
There's a little bit of the silliness.
Yeah, we hit a.
I think I would 100% agree that we do.
Yeah,
we do.
Mitch, what about you? Does America have a crisis going on?
Well, one thing I was thinking is you said crises and crises. It's kind of like the plural. Is that the right plural?
Crises?
Yeah. It's like moose and meese. Is that a thing?
Crises?
No.
Yeah, it's definitely not crises.
Crises.
It's crises. It's crises.
Okay.
Like you have multiple crises going on.
Do I think there's a crisis?
Yes.
I think there is a purpose crisis.
Purposeful crisis.
Yes.
Interesting. Expand on that.
I think many people are lacking a purpose simply because of the political climate, maybe the physical climate of not being able to consistently afford good, healthy, quality food. America's the only country that we see that people, it's the kind of fast food is the standard go-to for a meal. I think people have a hard time finding their purpose in their spiritual life. We see many people in America just don't identify with any religion at all.
Sure.
We're seeing a lack of purpose in many aspects of many folks' lives.
Yeah. So you're saying a literal purpose crisis, not a purposeful crisis.
No, I'm saying it is a lack of that.
Yeah, I see. And I do not think you're wrong, by the way.
Which could have been part of the purposeful aspect of the crisis.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
More than likely is, as we know.
Yeah. And let's go down that road just a little bit here. Why do you think it is purposeful to have a purpose crisis right now?
Well, I mean, I think most people that, have delved into this even a little bit understand that you're easier to control when you have no purpose. It's that simple. If you are a human being that has no control over their health and fitness, has no control over their finances, has no control over their family, has no control over essentially anything in their life, including their job and whatnot, you're just a cog in the wheel, for example, in a corporation or whatnot, then it is much easier to control you because the ideas and the inklings of, as we're hearing, those little whisperings of the UBI, universal basic income and whatnot, they start becoming much more attractive, which means an easier to control population, which is very good for power hungry people because power hungry people they think that they are much more dominant than the rest of the population, or they think that they are superior to the rest of the population. who's in that ruling class. We've talked about that in many episodes.
So let's say, you know, someone's listening right now, they're watching right now, and they're saying, you know, what is Gabel talking about? Easier to control. Like I'm not controlled. You know, I live my life how I want, and you know, I do what I want, and all these things. Are they? So what are some ways do you think right now? Let's discuss this. What are some ways right now that American citizens are controlled, even though they might think they're not?
Mm-hmm. I mean, our food's an easy one.
Yeah.
Our food is extremely addictive.
Mm-hmm.
It is shown that the candy, for example, or the sweets, or the sweet treats, as everybody talks about, the Starbucks drinks, the fast food, then you name it.
Snacks.
They are engineered to be more addictive.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a slave to your food, and you are a slave to your stomach, essentially, and
cravings.
Not being able to put down your fork.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So you are a slave to that at that point in time. You're like, no, I'm free. Like, we can eat as much McDonald's as we want. It's the most free country ever.
Right.
It's like, no, that's not freedom.
Right.
That's you choosing to be a slob.
Right. Or I could stop eating. Why I can't talk.
No, I had a voice crack too. Don't worry. So we're good. Yeah.
You know, or someone might say, well, you know, I could eat healthy whenever I want. Like I'm not addicted to the food that I eat. Are you sure about that?
Said everybody that has utilized a substance before.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But
I could stop whenever, bro.
like I think Mitch and I, because we come from the large side of the spectrum, like no roast. I'm just saying, like that's the side we come from.
Sorry, it's just funny.
It is. It is funny. It is. But I mean, it's pretty easy to put down a whole bag of chips.
Damn right it is.
Whole box of Cheez-Its.
I come from the skinny side, the gust of wind side of the factory.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I can still put down a bag of chips.
Yeah, exactly.
If I want to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it is, you know, and
there'll be evenings if there was a Cheez-It box that ended up in the house. I mean, I'll come upstairs, you know, the next morning, you know, it looks like the bag was like pulled apart by a rabid tiger. It's just like, what happened up here?
It's
right.
it's like you see a black bear like tear up a campsite.
Yeah.
It's like me if there's sweet.
Yeah, it's like what happened?
Right.
Did a bomb go off? And
Right.
No, that's why I just don't buy that stuff. I mean, honestly,
Sure.
it's as simple as that. Yeah,
Sure.
because like I'm saying, it's addictive.
Mhm.
It is 100% a mechanism that is controlling.
Sure.
When you sit addictive substances around you in your environment,
Mhm.
so that is how you become free. You curate your environment.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter right there.
Here's another one.
Hmm.
Our phones.
There you go.
We've talked about this before, but it's all the tech everywhere.
Can you curate it?
Sure,
You
you
know?
can.
Yeah.
You can.
And we've talked about that before.
We
haven't
have, and there are ways to do that. There are ways to protect yourself from not seeing things that you don't want to see.
Mhm.
But that phone is everywhere you are.
Mhm.
You know, for all of us, that is true. No matter how much, you know, no matter how much you're off the grid, like in your case, Mitch, no matter how much you're on the grid, like we are, it doesn't matter. That phone is everywhere you go, and anything you want on or with that phone is in your hands.
It fulfills
in
that
seconds.
desire.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And really what it is too, now that you're talking about this, it is fulfilling small desires.
Mhm.
So it's enough to keep you satiated
Mhm.
while it keeps you from the big desires. Again,
Sure.
maybe desires isn't even the right word. The big goals
Sure.
would be a better word for it.
Well, I mean, dude, right before we started recording, we were trying to do 69 divided by 3. And it took us probably 90 seconds.
Mhm.
A lot longer than it probably should. That probably just roasted us without I wasn't meaning to do that. But we did do it without using a calculator, using the phone. But how easy would it have been to, I'll swipe, I'll click, 69 divided by 3. What did that take? 7 seconds, maybe,
Mhm.
if that.
Yep.
By the way, we were right. It was 23.
Nailed it. No big deal. Yeah. We're nasty.
We're
Yeah.
nasty at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the thing though. You talk about Chat GPT too.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of doing schoolwork, you do that.
What I was going to say right there was I'm kind of glad that ChatGPT was not a thing while we were going
I'm
in.
100% glad it's not a thing.
Well, while we were going through school,
Mhm.
because I know I would have used it.
We use Quizlet.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
can attest to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. We used Spark Notes.
Yep.
You didn't read the book.
Yep.
No, you did Spark Notes.
Exactly. That's the truth of the matter is that's a whole nother thing about education where you could talk about if you're talking avoiding these small not pleasures, being whatever you would call them,
Mm-hmm.
making things easier, so to speak,
Sure.
in the way of ChatGPT, Quizlet, Spark Notes for us and
Grok.
whatnot, Grok, all the AI stuff and whatnot. The
I
real
know.
way you would actually improve our education system is completely banning stuff like that in school
Sure.
entirely. And again, everybody's like, well, it's free content. No. If there is some things you have to curate for that there to be a
Correct.
functional population.
Well, and there's also skills that need to be learned in school, like reading, holding a
or
book.
hands-on stuff, by the way, which
Hands-on.
they haven't taught for
Correct.
80 plus years.
I mean,
probably.
bro, I was just talking with my parents this past weekend, and we were on the topic of like ADHD and autism and things like that, and just the crazy rates of it in our country. And obviously a contributing factor to that, which is a part of this identity crisis topic that we are talking about. All of this does tie into this. My mom works at an elementary school. Every classroom has computers for all the kids to use. We're talking about kindergarten through 5th grade. So what is that, like 6 to 11 maybe ages? I don't know, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's been a couple years since I was in elementary school. Yeah, give or take a couple, but
We're still there.
mentally at times, yes, for sure.
Which can be fun.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyways.
Farts will always be funny.
Yep.
But seriously, every single classroom has that in it. So these kids everything they're being taught is through a screen and through a computer. It's not, I don't know if they still have textbooks and stuff, but the way she was indicating that there isn't those types of things anymore, or she gave an example when they were out at recess, like the teachers or like people in her position are like the bad guys because they're saying they have to put the tablets down to go outside for recess. And it's like, that's so
dark,
beyond backwards.
Dystopian.
Dystopian for sure.
I would argue.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't know, when I was in elementary school, I couldn't wait for recess.
Mhm.
And if you had a day where you got a bonus recess, I mean, it was the best day ever. You know what I mean? When you got to go outside for PE class in middle and high school, it was awesome.
It was sick.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Without a doubt. And we're not just saying that to be like, whatever, like that's the truth, and we're losing that in elementary school.
I would say the identity crisis, in my opinion, stems from a overarching idea that the majority of the population has no ability to dream long term anymore. So you guys were going down the path of a small gratification, right?
Mhm.
You swiped on that video, that felt good. You were able to chat GPT a question and answer it quickly, that felt good. I think the identity crisis stems because nobody has the ability to think critically and plan out their life 5, 10, 15 years down the line. And every day, day in and day out, work towards said goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a very limited ability in most people to pursue that anymore. For most people, it's day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's kind of a pretty bad feedback loop because you wake up and you do the same thing day in, day in, day in, and you have no clue what your life has in store for you, or you aren't looking ahead to see what your life has in store for you, and you're not planning for that. You're not attempting to chase that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why people lose their identity because they don't know what they're going for.
Right.
They're just here to survive the next day.
Well, it's what you're saying is these people are letting life dictate them instead of them dictating life.
Love that.
And I mean, those are all fantastic points right there. And they're also true, they're very much so true. And that goes for all ages. And obviously that starts at a young age nowadays. What we were just talking about with elementary school, where when we were kids, you would go out to recess and you would, in a way, you would imagine a football game. You might literally be playing football with your buddies, but you're imagining the crowd, you're imagining the end zones, and you're imagining those types of things. Or, if you played any other type of game, there was imagination involved and there was creativity involved. And those are the things we're lacking because you need imagination and you need creativity to dream long term.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're planning for 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you have to imagine those things and you have to be creative in the reality that you're trying to create in that future.
It's a real thing. It's a real scientific term. I forget the exact scientific term, but the ability to, as a young child, imagine play shows greater levels of creativity, greater levels of kind of a way to push that desire and
Cognition.
that down the road. Think of it in our example. You'd be in the woods playing airsoft.
Sure.
You'd be in the basement playing Nerf guns, and you're imagining you're hiding behind cover, and you're kind of, we're dudes. We're gonna think about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's the idea of play in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start applying that as an adult in terms of imagining what your life looks like, how you're gonna attack problems in the future, what it's gonna look down the road, it gives you something to work towards, and you can base your ideas, your day-to-day to fulfilling that goal rather than just walking around aimless without one and just going to Taco Bell and work your cashier and then you head back home. Nothing against cashiers. It's a needed job, but you have no long-term desires there.
Right.
It's just, you wake up, I'm here, I go home, I sleep, you wake up. It's the same loop over and over again.
It would be the same thing if you two were still working at Six Flags, just like if I was still working at the movie theater. Again, those jobs are needed and we're not at all hating
100%.
on that. But we are not stuck in that loop.
But they're needed for when we're 15 to 20 years old.
Well, that especially.
That's the thing. That's a population that it can be used as a tool to teach them how to work.
Correct.
And whatnot.
Absolutely.
It's not meant to be a
career
or provide for your family method.
Right. Right.
So
and there are positions within companies like that can. And if you're working towards those, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No
Again,
doubt.
we're not hating on that.
Yeah, if you're talking about like, I want to be regional manager of B&B Theaters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole different story.
100%.
We're having a different conversation entirely
and
there.
you're going to get the bag too, and you're going to work for it. But
although the corporate position, Six Flags, I never quite desired.
But it's somebody's cup of tea.
But yeah.
Exactly. And so,
and if it's something you're striving for and you're doing the best at every day, then I'm not going to hate on it.
100%.
That's a different story. I hate on managers that don't do a good job.
Sure.
That's a whole different story.
Sure.
But
if you're the 35-year-old guy that is still working the rides at Six Flags, there might be a problem.
Yeah, unless that's your true dream and that's what you love to do. But maybe they have the desire of one day opening a theme park of their own or finding a way to do something, and that kind of floats their boat, and that's fine.
Sure.
It's just that I think that's why, in my opinion, to summarize it, is why there's an identity crisis, is because there's no long-term goal planning for most people.
Yeah.
Most people are working a job just to get enough money to pay the bills and get groceries for the month, and then you move to the next month. That's why as adults, I think everyone probably notices this as an adult, time goes way faster as an adult. Way faster. As a kid, I remember a day would be like years. Like it took forever.
Yeah.
And then, days like today where I'm on calls nonstop, you look up and it's 2 p.m. and you're like, where'd the day go?
Right.
And then you move on to the next day and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If you don't have a process and you don't have goals to look forward to or build toward, it's going to get old pretty quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, on that point too, like think about when we were kids, during summer. So we'll say school's not in session. You're up 8, 9 in the morning, whatever, and within an hour, you're outside with your friends playing something, and then you move on to the next thing. You're playing a new thing. There was so much that happened in that day, and it was fun, and it was creative, it was imaginative, just all the things we're talking about, and maybe not every kid's childhood was like this, but hopefully it was, quite honestly. Hopefully it was. I hope that for you guys. And I hope you can give that to your future kids as well.
That's the real thing right there.
Exactly. Exactly. But to your point, Mitch, it's just like you sit there, not every day, but there are plenty of days where it's like, what did I do today? It's like, what did I do? And thankfully, you and I, Gable, we are going down the path we are going down, and we chose this path, which kind of prevents that some. Because if we have days where it's like, what did I do today? Well, guess what? We did not move forward. And as a matter of fact, we might have moved backwards, And obviously you and I, as business owners and as guys that do have the creativity and the imagination of what we want our company to look like and what we want our future to look like, we have those steps that we have to take. Mitch, earlier you mentioned, you have a picture for whatever it is. Well, there are steps to get to that. Jeff talked to us about this with his
Reverse engineering.
Reverse engineering, yeah. And that's the easiest and most simple way to get to your goals is to do that. Okay, you have the big goal and boom, 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 boom. Here are the steps I need to take to get to that big goal. When you get to that goal or when you get really close to it, here's a whole brand new set of steps because you have the next goal, And so my point is, thankfully, we do have an identity in our company and in this flag right here and then also in this flag too, of course. But those logos right there, like that is the future. That is the identity right there. And we have steps that we know we need to take in order to make those successful.
Absolutely.
And so when people don't have that, and you don't have to be entrepreneurs, you don't have to have your own business, you don't have to have your own podcast, you don't have to do content like what we do, you don't have to do any of those things. It's something for you though. And when you don't have that something for you, that's when you do have the identity crisis, and that's when you feel like you're living a meaningless life.
So Gabe, I'll ask you the question. So in those buckets we talked about, religion, finances, emotional, or whatever you want in terms of having a family, having a house, etc. What are some examples of maybe goals that you could set, right? For me, what is the goal? Why doesn't money to make a difference to you at a job? Because you're working for God Almighty, right? You're trying to bring his kingdom down here on earth as close as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second piece is wanting to provide a fantastic life for your family in the future as best as you can. We have fantastic memories going on family vacations. Well, what do you need to complete that family vacation? In this world, you need money. So you need to be able to afford that. Okay, how do I set my goal to achieve that? How do I set my goal to achieve my kids being able to play whatever sport they want? How do I achieve being able to find a meaningful job that allows me to spend time with my children? So on and so forth. What are some examples of that, Gabe?
I mean, some examples would be one, as simple as cracking open your Bible on the religion side of things. I mean, we've talked about plenty of times the study Bible that all three of us own at this point in time.
Yeah.
And how easy that makes the steps too, because you can literally just peel open a reading plan and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I mean, on Sunday, I just peeled open Proverbs. I was like, let's get to it. And I was reading some really good stuff. And it's like, one of the verses I remember, it was, do not withhold good from those it is due to, which is really interesting to me. Because it was such a good take. It's like, don't be like, I'll give it to you next week. It was the concept it was talking about in this section. But the point of the matter is like, instantly, literally, that was first page. I opened it and I'm like, that is money. It's a self-help book, as we've talked about before, the ultimate self-help book. So you even just crack open your Bible, something as simple as that. That's an easy way to attack that goal. Something like financial, have we decided to take something that takes a lot of work, networking, and building for years, aka entrepreneurship?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Or you can choose to get really good in a skill, aka like a trade or what Mitchell does, and be extremely skilled with computers and be so valuable that you're ahead of AI, for example, that you're able to provide for your family that way financially as well.
Sure.
Or you can network so much and build such a real community as we are, especially in the last few months. We've really picked up a lot of steam here and are continuing to do that and continue to build on that. That's how we provide for the families in the future. So there's that. What was the other one you said out of religion and finance, Mitchell? You're talking emotional or family stability, that type of stuff?
Yeah, you could put it into buckets of kind of how you build your identity. What do I want my relationship with religion to look like? What do I want my relationship with finances to look like? What do I want my relationship with my emotional intelligence or my future wife to look like? You need to have actionable steps, like Wurtz was talking about with Jeff, right? It's a very common thing, the 50,000 foot view, the 10,000 foot view, 5,000, et cetera, to work that way down. What are some maybe ideas or examples that maybe people are lacking or just aren't able to foresee, right? Because like I said, I think it stems from a lack to dream. It's a lack of wanting to develop a long-term desire for something better for you. What are some examples of that?
Just to chime in here, mostly so I don't forget, but I'm going to go to something that I actually sent in our book club group chat, I don't know, last week sometime, where some of these guys were talking about how, through social media and just the media in general, nowadays. Like there is so much coming from so many different places. Whatever topic it is, like you could find literally 100 people talking essentially about the same thing, but saying it in a different way. And so it gets you in this state of mind where it's like, what do I believe? You know, what are my beliefs? You know, what do I believe is true for my life and how I should live my life and things like that. So what I told these guys, I go, listen, it is super easy to fall into this loop where you're listening to this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and I mean tons of them. But what you have to do is pick. I don't remember what I said. 1 to 5.
1 to 5
is
1
probably
to
what
8,
I said.
whatever it was. Yeah,
something like that. Like 1 to 5 people, and maybe not 1 because then you could be a little too influenced.
100%.
I would say
your personality is theirs.
Yeah, exactly,
right.
100%. And so maybe it's not 1. Maybe it's more like 3 to 5, 3 to 8, whatever it is. But the point is, it's not a huge number, and you listen to those people, and typically it works best if they are someone you strive to be like, because if it's not, I'm not really sure why you're listening to them anyway.
Other than just for brain rot.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother conversation.
For sure. For sure.
This topic.
And that could be an entire episode on its own for that matter. But you pick that small number of people and you listen to them. These are people that are successful in whatever way you deem success, whether financial, spiritual, family, you know, things like that. And you pick those guys and you listen to them, or those girls, and you listen to them. And then you do have an idea of who you can become, because you're not listening to one person. You're also not listening to 101.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a solid group of influence. And I also mentioned too, find people that you have access to. Okay. Have a few that are, you know, they're way ahead of you in the game. And right now they're abstract people to you in a way where it's like, I couldn't call this guy and he's going to answer, because we have those. We have those guys that are further down the line and we don't have access to yet right now. But we also have some guys that are a little bit behind those ones, but still plenty ahead of us. But we could call them right now and they would answer.
Yep.
100%. And you and I are thinking of the same people right now. You know,
yep.
There's probably 5 of them, if I had to think, like those types of guys. And when you have those types of people in your life that are willing to help you, willing to give advice, willing to listen, will pick up the phone, things like that, like those are the people you listen to.
Yep.
Because they're going to bring you along with you.
Well, I think the word that pops into my head, because I remember when you sent that text and I was like, one, that's on point. And I think it was a needed thing for that group chat, by the way, too.
Sure.
That was a big reality check to a certain degree as
Yeah.
well. But when it comes to influencers or people you listen to or whatever it is, what's the one thing that politicians and most people in America do not have? It's authenticity. That's the word that comes to mind for me, because you can tell, Democrat, Republican, you can tell they stand in front of a camera and are posturing just to act like they are God's savior through politics or whatever it is.
Right.
That's basically what they are acting like. They're acting like they are this incredible person, but then you look behind closed doors and they're pieces of shit, just like everybody else has skeletons in their closet, by all means, too. By the way, I'm not judging on anything like that. It's just saying that they are not all put together perfect people, as we talked about at the start of the episode.
100%.
Now, authenticity is huge, because those 5 people you're talking about that we could call, we all know we're getting their real self.
Oh, yeah.
They're not bullshitting us.
Correct.
Is a big fact that you should be looking for in people you listen to, which is how you curate your social media anyways.
Right.
If you're going to use, because technology is not going away. It's
correct.
Unless we go full Dune, like the movie Dune and whatnot, and just kill all the robots. Like, yeah, but I don't know, that's probably a lot of years away. Anyways, point remains is that for right now, since it's here, authenticity is what you should be looking for. Are they real? For example, right now, one that's going around that you actually sent me this week that was hilarious, by the way, and everybody's making fun of it.
I already know exactly.
Was Ashton Hall.
Yeah.
That guy posting all this stuff, dunking his face in a bowl of Saratoga spring water.
Right.
By the way, no ad at all, because we're not sponsored by that dumbass company.
Right.
Anyways.
Like 80 times a day he was doing it too.
It was within a 5-hour span. It was 3:52 in the morning. He was up for some reason, which who the hell wakes up at 3:52? Nobody. Anyways,
Jocko's
at like 4:30, I think, or something like that. So even this guy's apparently waking up earlier than a Navy SEAL is.
Well,
Man.
apparently Jocko doesn't dip his face in a bowl of water,
Yeah.
so therefore he's not
Exa-
successful.
Jocko's just not legit.
Obviously.
I mean, it's pretty.
Jocko's full of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. We're joking.
What has Jocko done?
Don't kill us, please.
Yeah.
The point is like there's the reason everybody's making fun of that egregious example is because of how inauthentic it is.
Yeah.
He probably rented the damn place, probably an Airbnb.
Right.
He probably bullshitted that call he was on too.
Yeah.
Because he was like, we're gonna get you to 10,000, bruh.
And that's all it was.
What?
That's all he said.
What? That could have been anything. That could have been anything at that point in time. So that's inauthentic. And that's what somebody like Obama sounds like to me. That's what somebody like
Obunga?
I'm popping up. I'm definitely popping it up. 100%.
Only the untapped OGs will know.
That's OG. Yeah, that's OG. Pete Buttigieg is another one, and Ben Shapiro is another one.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro's complete full shit.
Yeah.
As any real conservative should know, by the way, at this point in
DC
time. Any
boy,
Christian
too.
conservative. DC Gay-Mo. What was the other one? DC Israel?
Yeah.
Anywho, getting back on track here before you guys start going down the
I'm
laughing
sorry, he
route.
said DC and I about lost.
So,
that
Jacob,
guy's a cornball.
what you're saying is there's people who may have masks, right? You put on a mask at home, you put on a mask in public, you put on a mask around your friends, simply to cater and maybe get a certain response out of the group of people maybe you're around. And we see that only accented by social media, where it's a game, it's a front, and most people don't realize, or hopefully more people are becoming aware that social media is a highlight reel.
Sure.
No doubt. You know, that
should be pretty obvious.
That's snippets. That's 15 seconds of a snippet of a person's day. You think they're doing that? Come on now, man.
Right.
That's 4 minutes in the air on a jump.
In the air.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
It's like-
7:36 a.m. jump in the pool, 7:40 a.m. you're landing in the pool. Like,
Yeah,
what?
it's
Are we
like-
hovering?
Bro, but again, what we're talking about it right now. That's why he did.
Oh,
it.
for sure.
Because that's another part of the brain rot and the inauthenticity. It's just for clicks a lot of the times too.
Absolutely.
So the influencers that do that type of shit, you shouldn't be following.
Correct.
It's a waste of your time completely.
So let's turn that to our question, saying that people maybe put on masks, put on fake personas, are inauthentic. What are the values that have been subverted or lost that we're talking about here that are causing America's identity crisis, right? Why are countries such as Middle Eastern countries or countries that are in Asia, they all have very, very, stop looking at me like that,
I'm like,
that have very, very strong cultures. Why does America not have a culture anymore? What used to be those values? What were those values that defined America's identity?
he's sounding a lot like a Christian nationalist to me.
How dare he?
Yeah, how dare he do such a thing on a Christian
Right.
nationalist podcast?
Right. I mean, listen. When we were in the Missouri State Capitol for the episode with David, which
Perfect. That's exactly where I was going to go.
yes, which by the way, episode 150. If you have not listened, very very cool episode. And if you haven't, definitely go and check that out. Quick plug there. But after we were done recording, we had the whole day, and so the three of us, we chose to just walk around the Capitol because it's a public building. You can do that.
Probably hour and a half, 2 hours.
Something like that.
So, give
Yeah,
or
yeah.
take.
We spent as much time as we wanted to
Pretty much. Yeah.
walking around the building, and there were a few things here. Number one, what did we see everywhere? It was classic artwork,
European
Christian-
architecture.
Christian-based artwork, Christian-based sayings carved into the walls. Literally carved into the walls. We're talking it was built this way. And it was incredible. It
Well,
really
and
was.
let me say two of those
Go
things
ahead.
just so
Go
it
ahead.
adds on to this.
Yeah.
One of them was nothing is politically right that is morally wrong. That is 100% Christian in nature.
Yeah.
The other one is very obviously Christian in nature that I remember. It is the earth is God's and all therefore.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds obviously Christian. To me.
Right.
So to add to your point.
Yeah,
anyways.
absolutely. And that type of stuff was everywhere. You know,
and that's just two of them.
And that's just two, because there was a bunch.
It was on all the different sculptures.
Uh-huh.
Them talking about how they were involved in these groups and they were Christian, and then this other phrase tattooed here, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And the biggest ones were in the room basically where the governor does like press conferences. You know, it was in the center of the main room when you walk into this monstrosity of a building, by the way. So sick. It's like, yep, that's Missouri's capital right there.
Yeah, and then Jeff City is.
Yeah.
The city is interesting.
Little whatever.
Yeah,
but this stuff, it was everywhere. It was in your face, because that's what this country was built on. That's what this country was founded on. That's what when the people left Great Britain, that's what they brought over to this land. And that is exactly what
Great Britain, Ireland, Germany,
Italy.
Who else we want to go on to? What other European nation? Portugal.
Yeah.
What else you want to go on to?
Right.
France.
Right.
All of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, granted, of course, France was majority Canada, but not the point.
Sure. And Canada should become the 55th.
Yes. Right. Continue though.
We were the first ones to say that, by the way. Ever.
Mitchell was the first one to say that.
Yeah,
by far. Yeah, out of anybody.
I've been saying that since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you were literally the first person ever in the history of the United States to say that. Yeah,
yes.
Right. Right.
He might have been one of five.
Devil's advocate here. My mic's stuck here. Is for people who maybe don't agree with European Christian values, maybe, okay, that doesn't fit their idea of being a good person, et cetera, et cetera. What would you guys say, summarizing it, America is, right, in terms of identity, right? Us saying that, you know, America's identity is built on European, Christian, typically white people, right, is not going to fit a lot with people who maybe are trying to come here and build a better life, right?
Sure.
You know, one of my good friends is from Uganda. You know, does he not fit in that box, right? How does that look? And I think outside of those values, there's a couple of high-level ideas we probably could summarize having a good identity that would take America back in the right direction. I'll say it from a religious perspective is the two kind of biggest commandments in the Bible is love God and love people. And if you don't want to take that a religious direction, is one, be good to people, which is hard to do. We're humans. It's very hard to do. But you can still want the best for people, even if you don't agree with their perspective. We've lost that. I've been a big advocate of that.
Sure.
And then also loving a purpose greater than yourself. You're not in terms of the love God perspective, right? You're not here just to consume and not produce anything. We're here to provide for others, provide value. That's what I would say would be my two big overarching ideas is provide for people and also provide a way to improve others' lives. That's what I would say. The two big pieces for me would be.
Well, and obviously part of the argument against the American culture or America having a culture, part of the argument is, well, America is a melting pot. Okay. You want to come here from another country, that's great. You know, you're seeking a better life and all these things that right now really just appear to be sold to people. Not really sure if that exists. You know, in a case like E, who again we had on the podcast, episode 149, who came from Haiti, you know, he was brought here for a better life, you know, and it has worked out great for him. But what's he doing with that better life? He is serving other people. He is paying it forward because he was given an opportunity by the family that adopted him from Haiti. He was given an opportunity at life, at success, at flourishment, at love, probably, you know, and he is giving all of that back through Brace for Impact, you know, the charity that he works for. He does stuff with First Form, which again is still through Brace for Impact, but he's paying all that back. He's repaying that so that other people can experience that as well. Maybe not coming to the United States, but to make that country better. You know, and that's where things like foreign aid are being used for good. Now, granted, this is all private money through donations and fundraisers and things like that with the charity, but that's where, because that would fall under literal foreign aid, you know, maybe not U.S. government.
So on this specific example right here, we may not agree with E on everything in terms of specifics, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But what you're doing right here is you're acknowledging he's a good person.
Correct.
He's doing good things.
Mhm.
And that's a big part of America's identity
Sure.
is being a good person and providing value to others.
Right.
So that's one big piece.
Right. Where it can go wrong with the melting pot aspect is you're coming from a third world country, or you're coming from just another country. It doesn't even have to be a third world country, but you're coming from another country and you are trying to force the identity of that country in this one.
Mhm.
That is not how it works. That's not how it works. I don't care if you're legal, illegal. This isn't an immigration podcast, but that's not how that's going to work.
It fits right into the identity, though.
It
And
does.
And what's the word we're not touching on here? It's assimilation.
Correct.
We gave up on assimilation 50 plus years ago at this point in time.
Yeah.
That's why we're at the point we're at now.
Correct.
Because legal and illegal immigrants, we have not assimilated to our culture. We
Correct.
see it daily in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You and I both see it daily.
Sure.
Immigrants that are not a part of the culture, whether
Mhm.
it's driving vehicles, by the way,
Sure.
or whether it's anything else, values, respecting people on the road,
Uh-huh.
respecting people in businesses, whatever it is.
Correct.
All those things are very
Hygiene.
obviously hygiene.
I mean,
100%. Mitchell, stay on track, buddy.
yeah.
But the point is, absolutely, these are little small values. We're talking about assimilation. E and your friend Mitchell are a good example of assimilated immigrants
Yes.
that have brought great value to this country, and I am all about assimilation. But we need to completely halt immigration for a while because of that matter, because we have just continued to flow in. We've let in, by the way, more legal immigrants than any country in history ever has.
Yeah.
Yearly. It was like 1 million plus per year legally we let in.
So lay onto that point, because obviously people are going to bitch and complain about, that we hate immigrants and blah, 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 and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Lean to that
Heard
point
it all.
of assimilation, right? America, historically, we love immigrants. They bring massive value. It's great
Absolutely.
knowing people's other cultures.
Mm.
It has given us fantastic food. It has given us fantastic ideas of being a decent person. You can have fantastic conversations and, people's life stories from all over the world here.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. We love that. We're not saying immigrants are bad.
No.
None of us are saying that.
Correct.
We're saying it's
That'd be
the
a dumb
principle between the two.
generalization, too.
Sure.
Correct.
That'd be a very low IQ generalization if that was the case too. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I would say. Maybe you guys disagree with my 2 points. I think I would summarize it is those are the two biggest values that America is missing.
Well,
personally.
I don't necessarily disagree with the 2 points at all, Mitchell. The love God and love people, because that's 100% true. But I think a lot of the times that's subverted a lot of Christians into thinking they need to be apathetic and everybody needs to come into the country and that's how you love people.
Right.
It's like, but what if those same people are butchering your children?
Yeah.
Let's just say in this hypothetical, they're butchering your children, the people you bring in, but you're loving them. Is that a good example of Christianity?
Right.
When you could actually keep them in their home countries and encourage them to build their own societies that are flourishing in their own countries as well,
Mm-hmm.
while we continue to keep our own values as well. Now, again, I'm talking about immigrants that have no interest in assimilating. If they're coming over here and they're flying the Mexican flag, or they're an Irish immigrant and they're still flying the Irish flag and their entire identity is still in Ireland, I'm still not okay with that. Or another country that is very small in the Middle East, aka Israel, and people make their entire identity that country. It's like, if that's your entire identity, you should be living in that country.
Correct.
Your identity is here, and your values should match what America was built on.
Right.
That's the case. And again, everybody's like, well, America was built by Native Americans. It's like, no, they were conquered, and our conquering culture is what we're talking about here, which is, again, European and Christian in nature, naturally. But the point is that assimilation is the biggest key here, because we're not talking no to immigrants. Absolutely not. That'd be actually really stupid, because you're essentially missing out on assimilated, really talented people that we could add to our culture.
For sure.
That'd be stupid.
Yeah.
That'd be like us saying no to E just because he's Haitian.
Right.
When now look at what he's done for this country.
Exactly.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's the point we're making here is, again, that's going to be a long-term solved issue. Let's just be really honest about immigration, because there is tens of millions of people here that have not assimilated.
Correct.
How we solve that issue, I'm not going to pretend to have the answers to.
Well, and I think part of your point here too, that the fix is not coming from politics. It's not coming from the president of the United States.
Of course not.
It's not coming from Homeland Security. It's not coming from Border Security.
ICE. Yeah.
It's not coming from ICE. It's not coming from any politicians. Who did we just name? Your buddy? E? We're talking about individuals here who have come from other countries.
The gentleman on Andy's podcast too, from India, I think.
You mean Zishan?
Yeah.
Like his
yeah.
producer?
And Madat,
or
for that matter.
His producer?
Yeah.
What is he?
I don't know. What
Yeah,
he
we
does.
have a huge Bosnian population.
Zishan's a Chad.
Yeah.
Like, I love when he chimes in.
We have a
podcasts,
huge
but
Bosnian population in St. Louis. It's the biggest one, I think, maybe outside of Bosnia. I'm pretty certain.
No, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's like 100,000
Yeah.
some Bosnians here in St. Louis, which is fantastic. They're fantastic people.
Yeah.
I have customers at work who they're in Bosnia, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
They are awesome people. But what have they done? They've assimilated, right? They have businesses. They're extremely nice people. You know exactly who I'm thinking about here is that they're good, quality folks who provide value to the St. Louis area, and it makes it what St. Louis is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything against them immigrating here. It's wonderful.
That's actually Polish immigrants are the same way in Chicago. Same way. They have one of the highest Polish immigrant rates in the country.
Interesting.
Yep. And same thing. Assimilated, and they have added value to the country in the same way, which is a really small niche. But I just knew that because I knew a lot of them at Iowa State, Polish immigrants that were at Iowa State, and they were very active in their communities there in Chicago.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like, yeah, it was like, okay, we're from Poland, this is cool, but we're in America now.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing, you know.
You can be proud of where you're from.
No doubt.
We're proud of being German.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I love my heritage. My family, our family came over here in the 1770s.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Why would we not be proud of our heritage? We built this country.
I found out I might butcher this. I believe my great grandma on my mom's side literally came through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It's cool that you can track that stuff back.
Ellis Island, by the way, people talk about Ellis Island as if it was just open immigration.
No.
They had to come in and prove they were there to work and add value to the country.
Yeah, David talked about that in our
100%
episode with him. Yeah.
100% all they did. And there was actually comments on that David post, funny enough, when we posted it on TikTok especially, that were essentially trying to say they just like let everybody in Ellis Island. It's like, no, they were documented and they were proven to be useful to this country.
You can still go look at the book.
Yeah.
Or books.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, am I saying the systems are ever going to be perfect? No, there's no human system that's ever going to be perfect.
Correct.
Whether it's capitalism, definitely not communism. But
Big swing and a miss there.
Yeah, big swing and a miss.
Definitely not capitalism as of late, too.
No.
And we'll call that out.
We're in late stage right now.
Yeah, we'll call that
100%.
out.
Yeah.
The people
We're
who-
in immoral, unethical capitalism.
The
right
very
now.
interesting thing is, and hopefully we see it in our lifetime because we're all kind of in the same generation, is that I think we have much more in common, conservatives, reaching across the aisle to liberal folks, right? Because they don't like billionaires. They don't like that the fact that a CEO can make 600 times the salary of the lowest paid employee, right? And you're going to see a lot of agreement between those.
Sure.
So I guess my point being said, summarize what values we're missing here, right? So we're staying on track. People are listening, and we make sure we make our points clear here. What values is America missing that led to our identity crisis?
Well, I think it starts with
Just so we didn't get it lost in the discussion here.
Sure. I mean, I think it starts with the two you mentioned earlier. Love God, love people. I think that's a great way or a great place to start.
Family would probably come next.
Family, 100%.
Yeah.
Pride in your country. Because there's
Absolutely.
a lot of people that live in this country that do not have pride in this flag.
Mhm.
You know, and whether you were born here and your family is here, like the three of us here,
Mhm.
or you're a guy like E, or a guy like your buddy, or the Bosnian population that we were just talking about, like those people have pride in this flag. That's not to say they hate where they came from, because they
Right,
certainly
that's
don't.
not what we're asking.
Yeah, they certainly
Yeah.
don't. But they have pride in that one, and they're living for that one,
Mhm.
and that's what matters. Pride in your country is a good thing. That's that's obviously a thing by the left right now, is to, they hate the U.S. and they hate that flag, and there's zero pride in the country, and because conservatives and Republicans are red, white, and blue and all this stuff, they're racist and all this other garbage. And it's like, no, it's just being prideful in where you live and in your country, because don't you want your country to be successful, whether that's financially or if there was an actual war to break out? Wouldn't you want your country to win? Just like the other guys want their country to win. Like, it's the same idea,
Mhm.
So I think pride in your country, would be in there as well.
I think a lot of what you were just talking about with the left, though, I think a lot of that is it goes back to what we were talking about in the first 30 minutes of the podcast, where we were talking about the easy way out and just taking all these little small wins, so to speak, as we were talking about. And it's a lazy argument.
Correct.
We hate the U.S.
Right.
Okay. What are you talking about?
Do you have any, details with that?
Yeah, like you want to add something to it, or are we going to have like a real in-depth conversation here, or not? So it's an very unintelligent argument, by the way, in the way of it's so unintelligent because of the fact that it is lazy too. It is that easy way out we're talking about right now. Now to go back to these values we're adding on, where we're talking about love God, love people, family, pride in the country. Those 4 alone would start at a really good spot. Family on my end is probably the biggest one. Christian families, especially, and we're talking to, like being a Christian podcast, need to prioritize having children if you can. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances that can happen. You need to prioritize having children. That needs to be a very large point, and you need to prioritize raising them in the proper way, as all 3 of us will in here. You need to take your ego out. You need to step back. You need to give your kids a better life. And hopefully you have lots of kids too, preferably. That would be awesome, because what greater joy is there in the world, in my personal opinion. But, anyways, I digress. But the family one is huge, because it's not just have kids and just go from there. It is invest in your family first. It is that chart that actually was going around on X for a while, where it was actually a survey that was done where it showed on one hand conservatives, on another hand leftist, or whatever you want to call them, liberals, whatever, doesn't matter. And it was basically a heat chart where conservatives put all their focus. It was a circle. So like multiple circles in the middle, and then the heat was directed toward the middle in these circles. So those of you on YouTube, you'll get a better picture of this, obviously. And the chart essentially showcased that people on the left, or liberals, focused more of their energy to outside things, foreign countries, other people, criminals, anything not like so far outside of their family that people they don't know in general, while conservatives focus their energy looking at that family, friends, people close to them, people that were important in their life, etc. Where a almost entire majority of the heat was on the conservative side of things, while on the left, the heat was way outside the circle, which means that the family and friends get no attention, and the people that they don't even know get a bunch of attention.
Right.
So that's extremely important. We're talking about as a family being a American value, because your attention should start there, because that is the foundation. It builds up from there.
Right.
If you just try to like willy-nilly, you send $5 over to Nigeria or whatever, and you don't even know what the money's going to and whatnot, and you have no clue what's going on, that doesn't help anybody.
Well, or a more real answer is to BLM when that was going on.
And then it goes to 6 executives' houses or whatever, and that's a great example, because that was a perfect example of that people they didn't know or didn't have any connections with. They didn't really look into it at all and realize where it was all going. And then boom, it goes to the wrong area.
Right.
So that family one is massive, because your focus should be there. That doesn't mean you don't give a shit about other people. Of course, that's part of the reason we were talking about the financial stuff earlier too, because if you are financially well off, you can also give more.
Yes.
You can also give it to your church, who will properly distribute that through the right channels.
Put it into your community.
Yeah. Because again, that community still stays in that heat map we're talking over here too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the thing. If we're talking like community in like the 2.5 million in the St. Louis metro area, for example, if that 2.5 million flourishes, next thing you know, the rest of the state will flourish too.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yes.
And right now, St. Louis is not flourishing. St. Louis is an easy example because it's close to home.
Right.
It is a crime-ridden filth fest.
Mess.
Essentially.
Yeah,
that's what it is, essentially. So you're talking about that. The pride in the country is huge too, because it should be part of the immigration process that if you're coming over here, we are evaluating you for, are you willing to basically give your life, not necessarily go die for the country in war. That's not what I mean. What I mean is give your life, sacrificing for your community, sacrificing for other Americans, and loving people, as we're talking about.
Right.
Is basically these values you're talking about in the pride in the country. Not just, oh, I look at the flag and I love it, which is awesome and 100% a part of it, but also it needs to go deeper.
Mm-hmm.
are you willing to care about other American people and listen to their side of things? Are you willing to actually have productive conversations with other Americans and grow alongside other members in your community that might be a little bit different than you? They are going to be different than you, no matter if they're both Christian or both Muslim, doesn't matter, whatever it is, point remains. So those two I'm definitely sticking on. The love God, love people, that should be essentially completely obvious, by the way, as American values. But
that's very universal.
Yeah.
There's so much that fits under those two, and I don't know. I think that nails it. Mitch, what do you have to add here?
Not much. I mean,
it's
a good conversation. I mean, it's an important conversation to have.
Right.
People should have long-term goals, long-term wishes for what they want to do with their life. It's going to benefit other people outside of them, right? If they have a long-term goal of opening a gym, well, a lot of people are going to get involved and help along the way.
Right.
It's having goals for yourself and having goals for the people around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what will give you that direction and that purpose and your identity. When you have a solid identity that translates to the people around you, translates to the people around them, before you know it, the country has an identity, and it's successful. It's going in the right directions and things like that. Again, it's not saved by the President of the United States. It's not saved by any of the agencies. It's not saved by any of the politicians. It starts with you, as we've said on probably close to every single podcast we've ever done.
Well, it starts with you. That's where you're talking about, that heat map again.
Exactly.
It starts at that base level.
Exactly. 100%.
It's a good way to say it. You're not investing your identity in the president, right?
Correct.
Trump or Biden or any Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter.
I mean, I saw an insane video today of some Trump supporters saying Trump is the second thing closest to God.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What are we doing now?
That's insane.
It's unbelievable.
That's blasphemous at minimum, actually.
Well, it is. It's also just so delusional.
Yes.
Because there's also, I like Andy's point, because he said it a few times, where, you give a new president 90 days. Whoever that is, you give him 90 days, and what happens? And the big thing that people talk about is the first 100 days. But I'm just using that example because he has said it a few times, and I think it's a good point. But you use the first 3 months of a new president, and what happens? They run on all these promises, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Very little actually gets done, and very little actually changes. And he is fitting right in with that.
We were hoping for more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And are there some good things that have happened? Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Are there some good things that are happening? Yes.
Is it mostly grassroots level, though?
Exactly.
As we've seen with other people that we know, and then also on things like X or Twitter.
Right. 100%. And it's these people that you're mentioning, Mitch, and it's not the majority, but there are way too many people that literally have their identity wrapped up in Trump or whoever the president is.
That's why you go to Thanksgiving and you typically the talk is pretty surface level, and then politics is always the biggest conversation because people dedicate so much time of their life investing into politics. And we talked about this with David Gregory. For the most part, federal level politics, you are never going to really touch in your life. It's not like you're going to know those people. It's not like they're going to come down and shake your hand or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason in America, people almost to the point of idolizing the American government at a federal level. It's very interesting, and it's just not a good way. It should start with you. What are you doing? What have you done this year? Have you created something? Have you made a difference somehow, some way? And I think you would quickly see people's conversation become much deeper, much more impactful in a way that would help a lot more folks, right?
Sure.
I mean, I don't understand the reasoning for why people invest in these things outside of them.
Well,
first,
I think we do know why. It's an excuse to not
develop their own identity. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
it's not saying that we're not aware of politics or you're not aware of
course.
politics. Let's
no,
just make,
you
that very
don't
clear.
turtle up and ignore the outside world.
You don't go
world.
monk mode on politics. That's not what we mean. But your personality. That's what you're saying.
And it's, if I put all my dependence on Donald Trump, then I don't have to do anything because
he's going to 330
because he's going to take care of it.
Yeah, you hit it. That's a fantastic point. Oh man, Trump was supposed to bring down these gas prices. Now I'm screwed. What? Huh?
Right.
How does that? Trump said he was going to bring down grocery prices. But he was going to fix everything, but he didn't. So I'm still broke. what are you talking about, my
Exactly.
man? You've been working at the same dead-end job making $25 an hour for 30 years. I mean, you're telling me you have had no time over those 30 years to upskill, to create something outside of that.
Develop a skill.
That is garbage. I'm not going to subscribe to that. That's bullshit.
Right.
It's true.
No, 100%. And again, back to what I just said a couple minutes ago, it's an excuse to not do those things that you just mentioned. I mean, that's what it all is. You know, you put your faith into another human, that's all you're doing. Putting your faith into God is a completely different story, obviously. But these people don't think like that. These people also who claim to be strong Christians, but yet they put all their faith into another human being.
Mm-hmm.
Not. You're praying to God that one day God Almighty will bring his kingdom down to heaven on earth, and everything you do while you're here is to prepare for that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
Period. The end.
Right.
It's the same opposite side with Biden. Oh, man.
100%. It's both sides.
Yeah. And not like we didn't cook Biden for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
2 years of the podcast or whatever.
That's the thing is we didn't lean too hard into it because it's the same exact thing on every single side.
Correct.
On both sides, no matter what. There's a fantastic TikTok account that showcases the where U.S. senators get their political donations from, and he shows all the time, Republican or Democrat. There's corrupt ass Democrats and there is corrupt ass Republicans.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference. Now you can tell he's extremely liberal, but that doesn't mean I find his content informative. You know, it's still good quality.
You don't find it.
You don't find
it's quality content still.
Right.
That doesn't mean I can say, oh wow, this sucks. No, it's exposing stuff that people need to be aware of. Right. There's gonna be dog shit people on either side. Start from the ground level. Focus on yourself. Build a fantastic family. Build a fantastic community unit around you. Have a quality legacy. I mean, just leave a good legacy, and then you're going to be left off a lot better than you started.
Right.
Boom.
Damn, boys. That was a good episode.
Yep.
Very good episode.
Go get the Untapped smoothie.
That's right. That was going to be a part of my outro.
Not an ad.
Not an ad.
You guys are the worst.
Definitely an ad.
The world's worst salespeople right here.
Sponsor us.
Bye.
bro.
If you're going to talk about the Untapped smoothie not being personal excellence, then you are.
I mean, seriously.
You are.
If you need to find your identity, it starts with having an Untapped smoothie. Hey, don't be booing us over there. It's a good ass smoothie right there.
That was good. I like that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think that was money.
So, guys, normally at the end of all of our episodes, we do a Q&A question, but full disclosure, this topic actually stems from a couple different questions we got. So we figured, well, if these couple questions are wondering these types of things, why not do a full podcast episode about it? So we have a few different ways, though, that we would like you to submit these Q&A questions to us. Number one, you can DM them to us on Instagram at untapped.llp. Okay? You can DM them to us individually. You can also text them to us individually if you have our numbers. You can email them to us. Our email is extricationfitness@gmail.com. We know it's a mouthful, so there's an email button in our Instagram and our Facebook bio. Click that. It'll take you right to wherever you send your emails from and receive your emails. And you can then write us an email with your Q&A questions.
Preferably my typewriter.
Yeah. Yes. Send a pigeon letter, please. Final way is you can leave them in the comments of our posts across all social media platforms. Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube. We are everywhere. We post several different clips throughout the week on especially both Instagram and TikTok. So you can leave them in the comments of those places. All of our podcast episodes are also on YouTube. So if you are a normal audio listener, which I myself am for most podcasts, that's how I choose to listen to podcasts, is through audio. But we do ask, go over to YouTube, see what the setup looks like, see what our beautiful faces look like. Okay.
Basically, for me, I like having YouTube on if I'm eating or doing work.
Sure.
So that's another good way for you guys to do it. Those of you that work from home or those of you that have time where you're sitting down to eat something, that's a great way. I like to do that because I like to go half and half. I like audio and I like YouTube.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah. And on that note for YouTube, if you have not, go over and subscribe. Again, it's a free thing and it helps us tremendously. You can even turn on post notifications so you know exactly when our podcast episodes or our vlogs
tweets
go live.
By the way.
Tweets,
also,
TikTok, Instagram. You can turn all the notifications on if you like. But back to the point, you can leave them in the comments on any of those platforms. All of those questions get sent over to Money Mitch. Gabel has a huge bicep over there. And he then picks one out.
Cardio's going well, baby.
He then picks one out that pertains to the episode, or it pertains to a former topic, or could be like this. If we get multiple around the same topic, we might just do a full podcast on it. And then sometimes they are just random questions you have, or sometimes they're funny. We love the funny ones. It's actually been a long time since we had a funny one.
Yeah, send funny ones in.
Yeah, send funny ones. The hell are you guys doing?
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you are obviously also hilarious. Let's just make that very clear. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We're looking at one of our clients that needs to send in some funny stuff that's very
true,
but very funny.
Very true. Very, very true. With all that being said, guys, we appreciate you listening and following along for a little bit over an hour here. We know that's a long time to listen to us.
Damn, Wurtz. Why don't you just downplay us while you're at it?
Couple of jokers
that was a fire episode, by the way. Let's just be really honest.
It was. So we do, truthfully, we really do appreciate you guys listening and watching. And as always, continue sharing the show for us. It's free to do that. Put it on your Instagram stories, take a picture of it, take a screenshot, and text it around to your friends and family. Until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.